When I refused to give up my last name, they held a family vote to decide if I was worthy of staying. If you lose, you're out, they smirked. I sat silently, letting them enjoy their game until I pulled out my phone and played a recording that made the entire room go silent in horror. I married my husband Aaron 3 years ago. When we got married, I kept my last name. Nothing crazy about that, right? People do it all the time now. But apparently, Aaron's family didn't get the memo. See, his family is obsessed with their name. To them, the name is everything. It's history, it's pride, it's some sacred thing they think needs to be protected. Aaron's grandma Margaret is the ringleader. She's the type of woman who thinks she's better than everyone, always overdressed, always judging. From the second I said I was keeping my name, she made it clear I'd committed some unforgivable sin. I just lost my dad 6 months before the wedding. Keeping his name felt important to me. Aaron completely supported me. His family did not. At first, they were just snarky about it with little comments at holidays like, "Still hanging on to that old name, huh? Maybe next year you'll come to your senses." Margaret always found a way to bring it up. She'd introduce me to people as Aaron's wife, but she doesn't use the family name just like that, like I was some outsider who hadn't earned my place. It got worse over time. The side eyes, the gossiping when I left the room, acting like I was damaging the whole family by daring to keep the name I was born with. Then Margaret decided to handle the situation. It was a regular Sunday dinner. This wasn't unusual. Margaret hosted these huge dinners twice a month, big long tables, people packed in elbow to elbow, loud conversations echoing off the walls. I never liked them. I always felt like an outsider, like I was being graded on my family performance. We walked in that night and I knew something was off. People were quieter than usual. Aaron leaned over and whispered, "They're up to something." I just nodded. Halfway through dinner, Margaret stood up at the head of the table and tapped her fork on her glass. "Everyone quiet, please," she said, like we were at some official ceremony. "We've let this situation go on long enough. It's time to decide what kind of family we are." I kept eating. I already knew where this was headed. Margaret cleared her throat and looked straight at me. "When someone refuses to take on our family name, they're rejecting us. They're rejecting our legacy, and frankly, we shouldn't be forced to accept someone who doesn't want to fully belong." People nodded, smirked, whispered. Margaret continued, "So tonight we are going to vote right here, right now." I looked at Aaron. He looked back at me completely stunned. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, but nothing came out. His dad shot him a warning look across the table. Aaron shut his mouth. Margaret kept going. "It's simple. If the majority votes that you belong, we move on. If the majority votes that you don't, you are no longer considered part of this family. You won't be invited to family events. You won't be included in future plans. You'll be removed like I was a piece of trash they were finally taking to the curb." Then she smiled. "Fair enough." Nobody objected, not even Aaron's dad, who usually stays neutral, not Aaron's mom, not any of the cousins. Everyone just kind of accepted it. Margaret passed around slips of paper and pens just like that, like we were playing some party game. And here's the thing. I didn't say a word. I sat there, let them pass me by, let them giggle about it, let them enjoy their little moment of power because I knew something they didn't. A couple of weeks before the dinner, I was out back at Margaret's house during another family gathering. I had stepped outside for some air, sat on the porch swing with my phone in my lap. That's when I overheard Deborah, Margaret's sister, and Greg, her oldest grandson, talking on the other side of the wall. They didn't know I was sitting there. Deborah was laughing, saying, "Margaret's finally going to take care of her." "I can't wait," Greg added. "She's not just getting rid of her, she's cutting Aaron out too. Says he's lost control of his wife. No name, no inheritance." I froze, but my phone didn't. I hit record and let it roll while they kept talking, 10 straight minutes of them trashing me and Aaron, bragging about how Margaret was going to kick me out of the family and cut Aaron out of the will because of it. I saved that recording. I didn't know if I'd ever need it, but something told me not to delete it. Good thing I didn't. Margaret finished counting the votes. She did it out loud, nice and slow. 16-2, she announced, smiling like she just won a gold medal. "I'm afraid that means you're out." A few people laughed. I swear someone clapped. Aaron sat there frozen, completely useless. I don't blame him. It's hard to go against your whole family when they're all sitting there daring you to step out of line. But me, I finally decided it was time to talk. Before you all get too excited, I said, standing up from my chair, there's something I want you to hear. Margaret rolled her eyes. This isn't necessary. It really is, I said. Then I pressed play on my phone and held it up so everyone could hear. Deborah's voice came through first. Margaret's finally going to take care of her. I can't wait. Then Greg. No name, no inheritance. He's out too. I watched every face at that table change. Smirks disappeared. Forks clinked on plates and stopped moving. Aaron's dad turned red. Margaret just sat there blinking. Probably the first time she's been speechless in her entire life. I didn't say another word. I let the recording play all the way through, every second of it, every cruel little plan, every insult. Nobody moved. Nobody defended themselves. Margaret didn't even try. And that's where I'm stopping the story for now. Would you like me to keep going and show exactly how things fell apart after that? When the recording stopped, the room stayed completely still. The only sound was the old ceiling fan clicking above us. Nobody dared to look at me, they didn't even look at each other. It was like they were waiting to see what Margaret would do next, like trained dogs looking to their master. Margaret, for the first time since I met her, looked unsure. Not angry, not smug, just unsure. Then finally she spoke. Well, she said, adjusting her napkin like nothing had happened, this doesn't change much. We were simply expressing concerns about. I cut her off. This isn't concern. This is a setup, and you all were ready to throw us out like garbage. I looked around the table at every face I had tried for years to be polite to. The same people I had shared holidays and birthdays with. All of them silent. Suddenly, no one had an opinion until Greg finally broke the tension. She probably recorded us illegally, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Maybe we should be talking to a lawyer. That's when Aaron finally woke up from whatever trance he'd been in. Oh please, Aaron said, standing up. Greg, you called me a loser. You and Deborah sat there plotting to cut us off and laughed about it. You think you're going to scare us with lawyers? Deborah scoffed. We were just venting. Venting about disinheriting your own family? Aaron shot back. Margaret slammed her hand on the table. Enough. This is a family matter. We will discuss this privately. But no one left the table, and that's when the real cracks started to show. Aaron's cousin Renee, who hadn't said a word all night, cleared her throat. I don't agree with this, she said quietly. I didn't vote for her to leave. Margaret glared at her. This isn't the time. No, actually it is, Renee continued. What are we even doing here, voting people out for keeping their name? You know how crazy that sounds. Greg muttered something under his breath. Margaret snapped at him to shut up. Then Tom, another cousin, leaned forward. Honestly, I thought this was a joke, Tom said. I didn't think we'd actually go through with it, but this is getting out of hand. Suddenly, the people who were so sure of themselves an hour ago started looking nervous, eyes darting, sides forming. And that's when I realized Margaret was losing control. For the first time ever, someone had challenged her, and it wasn't just me. Just as Margaret tried to regain control of the room, Aaron's dad cleared his throat. I think we've all forgotten something, he said calmly, looking directly at Margaret. If you're worried about who's part of this family and who isn't, maybe we should talk about what I found in the financial records. That shut her up fast. What are you talking about? Margaret asked. Aaron's dad leaned back and folded his arms. Oh, don't act surprised. I've been reviewing the estate finances, and I noticed a few interesting withdrawals from the family account. Big ones going straight to Deborah and Greg. Margaret's face drained of color. What Greg said? What are you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Aaron's dad said tens of thousands of dollars disappearing over the last 2 years, all marked as expenses, but no one has seen anything to show for it. Now the whole table was murmuring. People who had stayed silent started whispering, asking questions. Greg stuttered. That's none of your business. It is if you're stealing from the family account, Aaron's dad replied. Margaret looked like she was about to pass out. Let's not get carried away, she said weakly, but the mood had shifted. Suddenly the spotlight wasn't on me anymore. It was on them, on their secrets. Renee, still sitting quietly, opened her purse. Since we're sharing, she said, pulling out a stack of printed emails, I have some copies of conversations between Deborah and Greg where they were discussing how to handle the inheritance. Found them on the shared family computer, just in case anyone thought this was a joke. She slid the papers down the table. I swear you could feel the oxygen leave the room. Deborah stood up. This is ridiculous. You're all turning on us now. Margaret opened her mouth, but this time nobody listened. All eyes were on Renee and Aaron's dad. People started reading through the emails, passing them around. Greg stood up. I'm leaving. Good idea, Aaron said. Maybe take your aunt with you. And just like that, Greg stormed out, slamming the front door so hard the walls shook. Deborah followed right behind him, muttering under her breath. Margaret tried to save face, but nobody cared. No one was paying attention to her anymore. The whole room had shifted from backing her up to whispering about the money, the emails, the betrayal, and me. I just sat there watching. For once, I didn't have to do a thing. The whole family was starting to fall apart all by themselves, and we hadn't even finished dessert. After Deborah and Greg stormed out, nobody said a word for a long minute. People avoided eye contact. Some of the cousins looked like they regretted ever showing up. Margaret just sat there, fidgeting with the edge of her napkin like it might rescue her. Then Aaron's dad, still calm as ever, spoke up again. I wasn't going to bring this up tonight, he said, leaning forward. But since everything's already out in the open, I might as well. Margaret, do you want to tell everyone why you've been moving parts of the estate into a private trust under your name only? Margaret's head snapped up. That's none of your concern.